This is Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And I'm Peter.
And we're going full blast with some brand new death metal on the show today, courtesy of a new band that I'm pretty sure everyone will easily remember. And that's thanks to the rather unique name. The name Fetal Blood Eagle. And from Fetal Blood Eagle, here's co-founder and guitar player Jim Gregory. Welcome to Horns Up, Jim. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing really great. How are you guys doing?
We're well, thanks for asking. But first up, I have to ask, what's the story behind the name Fetal Blood Eagle? It's so unique and I dare say extremely SEO friendly.
Oh, thank you. So the story is that my last band was called Solium Fatalis, which was some poor man's Latin. And I found myself spelling that band name for 8 years to everybody. And I was really tired of that shit. And so when I was out walking my dog, I was like, man, I got to come up with something new. And I thought, Blood Eagle, that's all right. And then it hit me, Fetal Blood Eagle. It's so stupid, it's going to work. And if I have to spell it for anybody, if I have to spell this shit for anybody, you need to go back to school because you're dumb.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. We actually Googled just to see like what images would show up because when you hear that, you think like, okay, something really fucked up is gonna show up, right?
Yeah.
But congratulations! Now, even if you do an incognito search, the only results that pop up are your band's artwork and your band's details.
Perfect. And it's been really interesting with the band name because I just was going for a cheap laugh from everybody. And and the people that are like the most upset about it are Americans. and we went online and I was looking because I don't have a life. And I was looking at what people were saying about it. And one guy wrote, that is the dumbest, shittiest band name I've ever seen in my life. And so I replied to him and I said, well, your parents they had 9 months and the best they could do was Todd.
Oh,
nice. Wow.
This reminds me of the banter on like, the message boards back in the day, like before Facebook became Facebook, I guess. But yeah, this reminds me of that banter on message boards where everyone is anonymous. And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think if someone showed up on a message board I was on and said, this is my band, Fetal Blood Eagle, I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
You'd say this is...
I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
I would hope that your first thought would be, this is stupid. I'm going to hate this. And then you turn it on and you're like, wait a minute. And it's like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Taking aside from the name, right, and going to the actual band, so glad you said it was jokes because when I was reading the titles I was like, what the hell is this all about?
I'm telling you,
I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
It's just Americans that are like, this is fucking stupid. And I'm like, really? So it actually makes me really happy that it aggravates metal fans. I'm like, you're not going to buy it anyway, motherfucker.
Ryan Beavers and you started the band after your previous band, and I hope I'm not going to butcher this, but
the name I spelled for 8 years, yeah.
Solium Fatalis came to an end. What I mean, other than just going for a dumb name and stuff like that, what is your like mission of sorts? What were you looking for, like for Fetal Blood Eagle?
I think we just wanted to do something like when Sven came in on vocals and Ryan and I were talking, I said, I need to do a band that's like my personality, that we have jokes. And, like I go to these metal shows and it's like, I hate the government and I hate my parents too. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. And, Satan. Bleh. And everybody's been hearing that bullshit for like 30 years now. So I just thought, this is so boring. And, I'm not trying to be guar and be totally ridiculous, but I just wanted my sense of humor, and Sven wanted his sense of humor, and same with Ryan. We just wanted our jokes to be in there. We wanted it to be fun. When you go see us live, it's fun. You have a good time. You listen to the music, and you can tell there's it's heavy and it's funny and fucked up. That's pretty much it.
That kind of like the way you put it, right? It just kind of encapsulates death metal, right?
Yeah.
That's what should encapsulate good death metal.
If you take it way serious and you want your music dark, I get it. But I don't just go to the movies and watch, dark, brutal horror movies all the time. And I don't watch, everybody loves Evil Dead. And is it really that serious? I don't think so. So it was one of those things that I thought this could be so much more fun than it really is. And anyways, that was pretty much it.
Okay, well, having heard or having gotten a chance to hear the promo copy, you definitely are enjoyable, and that's something huge for death metal these days. So kudos on that. But for the others who haven't yet got hands on a promo copy, it's called Indoctrinate, and it releases 25th February on Listenable Records. How's the band doing? Are you guys nervous, excited? Do you just want to get this out and be done with it?
I think I can't speak for everybody. I know I'm ready for him to come out. We started writing it I want to say 18 months ago. And
so this is a pandemic album.
I started writing it before the pandemic, with the beginning songs of it, but yeah, basically, yes. Yeah. And so I think we're ready to play shows and get out there and do more. And we already actually are almost finished writing the second one.
Wow.
Yeah. And I already had started writing plans for the third one too. I was like,
nice.
I got jokes.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, let's break down one of the songs from the album and give our listeners a taste of what they can expect. Now, the band already has a few singles released, and yet when we asked you to choose a song for this breakdown, you chose one that's a deeper cut. It is the penultimate track from the album. It's song number 9. It's called Decompression Disembowelment. And before we break it down, let's listen to the whole damn thing. Here it is. And that was Decompression Disembowelment from Fetal Blood Eagle's upcoming debut album, Indoctrinate. And we're talking with founder and guitarist Jim Gregory. Jim, why did you pick this song?
I like the title.
You just wanted to make us say this repeatedly.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like,
See how a couple of Indians can say double D words. You like them double Ds.
I think you're doing great. We had some other people from a different country. I don't want to name names here, but it sounded like Spain. And when they were saying the titles, was it the French guys were saying Fetal Blood Eagle, and it was fun to listen to them try to pronounce the titles. And so when do we get to the second album? They're gonna have a blast with those ones.
But seriously though, apart from the name, just tell us a little bit about this song before we get into it.
Well, I got the title idea from watching this older Sean Connery movie called Outland. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that.
Wow.
But I am a huge B-movie fan, and you mentioned deep cut. It is a deep cut because it's way late in the record, and that's a deep cut from his career. There's this scene. It's a science fiction movie, one of the very few that he's in, from 1981. And there's a scene in it where this dude gets into a spacesuit, gets into an elevator, and then, or I should say, he gets into an elevator that requires a spacesuit and doesn't wear one, and then exposes himself to the outer atmosphere of the moon that he's working on, and it blows his guts all over the place. And I thought, decompression disembowelment, that's exactly what just happened there. So I don't think it's very realistic, but it is science fiction. So that's where that came from. And that was... Did I answer it right? I don't know.
Interesting. Alrighty, let's start this thing. Let's start the breakdown. Ooh, that's what I'd like to call an elephant riff, because it's slow, it's pounding, it's heavy, it's crushing. Why decide to start the song off in this manner?
I think a lot of songs have sort of, a lot of younger bands are doing this new thing where they do 30 to 45 second intros of the same riff that the vocalist is doing their vocals over. And stylistically, like writing wise, why? Like, if you're just going to play the riff for 30 seconds and then the vocalist comes on and then you play the same riff, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, you got to have your intro riff, then you move into your verse, right? Like, so naturally, with any Fetal Blood Eagle song, I wanted to do a bunch of pinch harmonics and messy sounding shit. So that's pretty much it.
but I have to ask, because again, the copy that we got didn't come with the lyrics, and that sounded like something that if I watch live, you'd like want to sing along to. So what exactly is Sven singing?
You know, I helped write the lyrics, and I don't know. I forgot. Yeah. Whoops.
Okay. When did you first learn to do a pinch harmonic? And how much of a joy is it to bust those out? Because I kind of feel that, a lot of guitarists want to keep playing pinch harmonics, but they can't, because they're all like, oh no, we'll just get compared to Zakk Wylde or someone.
Oh, I was thinking like, your technical death metal bands kind of using that, right?
Oh, it's funny because when you do, I got a guitar right here. You never go far without one of these things. And one of the things that I learned about playing pinch harmonics is that people will do them on the upper register of the instrument. So they'll, I know you can't hear this, but I like doing them really low.
Uh-huh.
And when you do them in the low parts of the register of the guitar and you're able to like pull those out, I think it sounds demented almost. And
yeah, it does.
If the worst thing people do is mention Zakk Wylde while they're talking about my guitar playing, that's great. Perfect. I don't know if anybody noticed, but he's pretty fucking good.
He's really fucking good. No, and there's a reason why I brought him up, because the pinch harmonics on that opening riff, they were long. The sustain, you could feel the sustain.
Yeah, it's funny because Sven gets a kick out of them too. So when we first wrote together and I had a lot of pinch harmonics in one of the songs, he said, "You don't write pinch harmonics, you write punch harmonics. They make me want to punch somebody." And so then I'm immediately like, "Oh, well, I'll just do more of them if you dig them, you know." And then it's all about just placing them in the right part of the song where I think it helps the song and it's not distracting you and stuff like that. So
let's continue. So that was the second section, consisting of a cycle of 3 riffs largely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when writing a riff, do you actively think of a vocal line and the drum pattern as well that you want underneath it?
So not usually. Usually what I'll do is I just try to think of what sounds cool. I mean, like to me, what sounds cool, and try to mix it up a little bit and hope that Sven can do something with it, you know, because I'm sure I've written ones where he said, "What am I going to do with this shit?" You know, so, and then that particular riff uses octaves, which is another one of my favorite things to do, because I've always thought octaves would be what plays if you accidentally walked into some alleyway in a dangerous city and there was somebody doing some surgery on somebody, you know, some dangerous shit that's scary and you wish you never saw it. That's what octaves sound like. Yeah.
I can see the B movies influence following.
Yeah. Like, that sounds horrible. You do try to lay down carpet for your vocalist, though. Like, that's really what your music should do. And I've never been really big on, I can appreciate the skill required to play technicality and stuff like that. But whenever we go to shows or whenever I was in my old band and we would go into real technical bits, people would kind of just like, you know, look off the, and they just weren't really that interested in it. Like, oh, so I don't think
So the people, obviously this is an audio podcast and people can't really see what you were doing, but what he was doing was basically looking at their phones. However, there's this other being at gigs who, when upon hearing a really technical part, will basically just fold their arms and judge you really hard and stare at you like with full concentration.
Like I'm waiting to compete in the Olympics that's going on right now and they're going to give me a 7. And I'm going, you know, I'm really glad that people are disciplined enough to learn how to play a guitar in a really technical way, but it's so fucking boring to me. I'm like, I just find it insanely boring. And I'm like, where's the part that makes me want to like have fun here, you know? And I can appreciate the skill that's required, but sometimes I wish bands would dial it down and, you know, maybe get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and, you know, have a life and, you know, watch TV and do something else. You know, you're spending too much time playing the guitar when everything's.
So when you're saying all of this, I can totally imagine that like you're the wrong target audience for like a Dream Theater concert or something like that, right?
Yeah, Dream Theater. Yeah. I mean,
I'm guessing what happens is, and this is a really bad joke, but if you have a significant other, then that's a different form of wankery than when you don't have a significant other.
It is. Like, we're a friend, a cat, a hamster, a goldfish. You can have anything. Just have company. Have a friend. Don't sit alone by yourself for 14 hours in a room with a guitar. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. And you start thinking up crazy things like how to make sculptures out of your own poop. It's not good. You know, you want company. You want to be around people. Musicians go, "I'm an introvert." I'm like, no, you're just an asshole. You're not an introvert. You're an asshole that no one likes. So you need to change that and stop writing technical music. It's just pushing everybody away.
Ooh, strong words. Anyways, let's continue this song. Wow. So over that entire section, guitars just kept chugging with a variety of change-ups happening on from the drums and vocals. I love that vocal hit that Sven does. Um, the question to you is, how challenging is it to keep away from the standard verse chorus kind of a structure? Because that's clearly not happening on this song.
It's not challenging at all. Except, in fact, I kind of prefer a little bit more structure. Sometimes it doesn't come out that way. But for me, writing a song that's like more of a through composition, like what you described, is pretty easy. You just do riff after riff after riff after riff. But the thing is that I don't think it's, for me, particularly memorable. And so I try to write the riffs with as many hooks into them as I could get, and try to have something cool going on there. It's not very challenging to avoid a structure. It's kind of a conscientious decision, I guess.
And how do you ensure that each section is flowing into the other as such? I mean, is that a task that you think is something that you should answer, or is that something that you're looking for your band to answer as well?
It's a group thing. Like usually you can hear on certain albums and certain bands that some changes are fluid, excuse me, and some changes are really jarring. Like if they do like a meter shift, or if they do any sort of like really just a tempo change, that sometimes it sounds like somebody slamming a car into a wall, and it just bang, their song changes, and you go, oh, wait a second, what just happened there? And so I think for me, it's really, you really do want, well, for the way I write songs, like you want to flow. And so it's really just what my ear hears and what the drummer hears, and, how that kind of melds itself. Because everybody in this band sort of does their own thing to make it work. We're also old and experienced, so that helps.
Alrighty, let's continue.
Would this be the chorus of the song?
I think this would be a pre-chorus.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not particularly musically educated.
Well, at least I was looking from like the person who kind of wrote the song's point of view. But okay,
I'm telling you, it's it's interesting because I've heard people like talk about this stuff, like their metal band, like they're in some laboratory splicing DNA, and I just am like, that sounds cool. Next riff. That's pretty much how I think of stuff. I'm like, that's cool. That sucks. Cool, sucks. So like that's how I do my riffs.
All right, cool. But this part was cool. How many layers of guitar are on there?
Just four rhythm tracks.
Oh, that's
the same
that's
thing.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
And how did you get it to sound like that? I mean, just regular amps?
Yeah. It's, some of us have the gift of power when we play, and one of the things that distinguishes Ryan and I from a lot of guitar players is we have a pretty heavy pick attack, and we use pretty heavy strings, and so some of that is just the character of the way we play the instrument. Honestly, it's like a lot of the harmonics and things that you hear dug out, and they're really, heavy.
Yeah, the meaty, they're really deep.
Yeah, that's just how we sound when we play guitar. It's like the natural tone, because I plug straight into an amplifier. I don't use anything really crazy, and it's just, I think, a lot of technique and using the right equipment for it. So yeah, good pickups.
I think you're also downplaying yourself a bit here.
You think so?
So I don't know why when you said like some of us play with power, it brought to mind Metal Apocalypse. Did you see Adults? It's exactly like that, right?
Metal. Fuck, I forgot how to say.
Metalocalypse.
Yeah, Metalocalypse.
There you go.
Ultimate flavor.
I know.
I had to hear somebody say it before I could pronounce it too. I remember reading it going, Metalocalypse. What the hell is this shit?
Okay, cool. Let's continue, because now it gets really, really, really fucking fast.
Mm.
Okay. What's the tempo here?
Fast. I don't remember. I'm the worst interview you've ever done. What are the lyrics? I don't know. What's the tempo? Don't know that either. I can't remember.
Okay, cool.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Prepared.
What's the picking pattern here like? Is it kind of like it reminded me frankly of the really the fast picking part on Raining Blood?
Yeah, it's
but
kind
faster.
Of, it's I don't know if it's faster than that, but it's treble picked and it's muted. So I think, to my ears, you could sort of hear what's going on, but it's so it's actually a lot faster than I think people realize, and it's all palm muted, which gives it that real like chunky sort of sound. And then it goes into bum 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 bum, and that was just to give my arms a break because they were getting tired playing that fast all the time. So yeah, because I'll do that. I'll play riffs that are really fast, and my arms start hurting because I'm like this. I can't do this forever, and so I'll slip in riffs where I don't have to keep going crazy. So yeah.
But having said that, like when you're writing, do you consider the live aspect? Because like a lot of bands, like with technology, you can kind of cheat, right? And then you kind of learn it in there. But from what you're saying, you're actually taking into consideration that when you play it live, what you're going to feel like, right?
Yeah, it's a great observation. Yeah, it's absolutely thinking about it live. We were thinking, we're all fans of this. All 5 of us are huge metalheads. It's not like we stopped listening to it. Now, I'm not picking on anybody, but I've watched interviews and guys that are in other bands, really, really heavy bands. They're like, I don't even listen to metal. And I'm like, well, you're no fucking fun. We listen to metal all the time. I don't know what they're on crack. I don't know what they're talking about. And so we think about what we would like to see. So we hope that we can connect with you and think that if you came to see us live, you'd be excited. You'd be like, this band's going to be so dumb and heavy. It's going to be great, and that's what we want to do. We want to see people go nuts. We don't want them to be bored with it or anything else. So absolutely, we think about what people would react to.
Excellent. Let's continue. Move into the final part of the song.
Decompression Disembowelment. It's the only way to go. Decompression Disembowelment. Still my guts in our sound. Decompression Disembowelment. That's the only way to go.
Whose idea was it to add that sample?
Mine.
Why am I not surprised?
The floor is yours. Take us through your process.
All right. Process. So, all right, serious. So when we were doing that, I was actually talking to Sven when he was doing, I think before he recorded the vocals for this track, well, all of them really, but I said, you need to, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like I said, you need to do more obituary moments. And this is how
different from what like Sven normally does, right?
Yeah, like he wasn't really doing them before. And we were on the phone one time talking, and I said, I really like obituary. And then this is how we talk to each other. And he was like, and then he starts going, it dropped in half. And we start trying to do obituary vocals. And then he sends me the demo for this song, and he's doing them. And I started rolling. I said, dude, leave it. Leave it. And then the audio sample, I don't know if you've seen the Arnold movie, The Running Man.
No,
You haven't seen that movie? Okay. There's a scene that's comical in that film where he fights this guy and they have a chainsaw fight over who's going to hold the chainsaw. And it's, when you see it's comical, and he cuts him from his crotch up to his chest in the movie. They don't show it, but it's heavily implied. And because he goes from the crotch of the dude, he starts going, oh, and he starts getting all falsetto. And it's comical. And then they're like, what happened to Buzzsaw, which was the name of this bad guy Arnold kills? And he says, he had to split. And it's really, it's really dumb. And you watch it and you're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But if you take that, pull the dumb lines out of it, and put the audio together with Fetal Blood Eagle playing, it sounds scary as shit. And what the guy says right there is, he says, I love the saw. The saw is a part of me, and I'm going to make it part of you.
Whoa.
And so, that's what he says there.
So I must ask you, like, how does it strike? Because, like, I know, like, with a lot of, like, say, the gore grind bands and stuff like that, the samples played like a very strategic role, right? Like, you'd always have it. And like, why am I getting, what's the band that did Olive Cheese? The Chicago band. Crap. Can't remember them for some reason.
I don't know.
I'm just having like a blank moment in there.
Nah, it's okay. It's okay.
But,
he'll edit that out later. It'll be great.
Definitely leaving it in now.
Shit.
Impetigo. There you go.
I tried.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now that's the thing, right? With Impetigo, you kind of see that. Do you have like a bank of all these samples that you're like, hey, if it strikes the right moment?
So, like, in my head, when I just think it would be cool to put certain things there. I mean, you all have heard the entire album, I assume.
Yeah.
And so one of the audio clips in the album is real. It's not from a movie. And people think it's from a movie. It's not.
Oh,
And on Only Meth is Real.
Oh, really?
That's a real argument. That was recorded by the man who picked the argument, who has long since left this plane of existence. He's dead. But he was really on meth. And he walks up to a security guard and picks a fight with him. And it's not a physical altercation. And in any time watching the video of him arguing with this poor guy, do you ever think that they're going to get into a physical altercation? There's a fence between them and all this. And he just was being this hyper aggressive guy walking his dog, saying, what is this place? And all this other shit. And yeah, there are really crazy people like that out in the world, and most of them are in America, which is why it's funny to me that they'd be offended at the band name. So I don't know.
To a certain extent, it's reality also, right? And
yeah.
staring you
But
right
no,
in the face.
but to answer your question, no, like the audio clip, it's just what we think would be funny and what we think would fit. And a lot of times I'll be recording and I'll write the song while I'm recording, and I think, oh, I should put something there. The riff's going on too long. and then for that particular one, Sven said, you really want me to sing for that entire outro? And I said, no, I'm going to put something in there special. And so I didn't tell him what it was going to be until he got it back and he heard it and he just started laughing. He knew what movie it was from and everything right away.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Although I do have to ask, how hard or challenging is it to make sure that a chainsaw doesn't overlap or mix into the guitar sound?
Well, that's Christian Donaldson, our engineer that mixed that. He's pretty superb at his job. It definitely could. So he has a very finely tuned ear, and he's actually worked with bands with talent, so he knows how to work those things out.
Thank God you didn't opt for like buzzsaw, Swedish heavy metal sounds, huh?
Yeah, that's been done. I was thinking, I'm not going to do that. And they're Swedish, and we're 4/5 American, so it wouldn't make sense to sound like that.
True.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and that was the breakdown of Decompression Disembowelment, one of the groovier songs from the upcoming album Indoctrinate from Fetal Blood Eagle. Fuck, I love saying that name. Jim, I have to ask, what was the most challenging aspect of this song for you? Is there a riff or characteristic that we've overlooked?
Well, that treble pick riff that you were asking about, what BPM it was at or tempo, that one is actually tricky. And it's funny because there are riffs on certain songs that I'll point to people and say that riff is actually pretty hard to play. And a lot of guitar players even just say, really? And I'm like, yeah, try it.
Thank God I'm a bass player, because once I figured out that Tom Araya is only playing the root note for the entirety of that riff from Raining Blood that I was talking about, I was relieved as fuck.
He's in that favorite Chris Barnes key of
Oh my God. See, this is like the second time in like
2 weeks.
consecutive interviews Chris Barnes has to come up.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's funny is that like
He's occupying a lot of mind space with what he's talked about.
But let me flip the question to you, right?
sure.
When do you think this is going to die down? Because considering it's
Never.
February, right?
Never. First of all, he feeds into it. I mean, I've seen video with the dude, and he seems like a nice guy.
But wait, have you been blocked by him as yet on Twitter?
No, I don't say anything to the man.
I think by middle of the year, it's going to reach the stage where like you're going to wear it as like how you have the verified tick on Twitter and stuff. It's like if you've been blocked, I'll add it to my bio. Like blocked
I've seen podcasters and interviewers and journalists celebrate getting blocked by him. So apparently that's a thing. It's like I have been blocked. Yeah, it's like congrats. You know, they should get an award. We should do that. I was blocked by Chris Barnes award. But no, I never say anything to him. I mean, I just wanted to crack a shitty joke.
Alrighty. As we begin to wrap up here on the podcast today, here's a final question. What's it like to launch a band in 2022? What are the new areas as such that you guys need to be cognizant of, be aware of, feed into? I mean, we all hate social media largely. I mean, two of us. But what about you? Like,
Well, I can see why people hate social media. I love it because there's an endless supply of jokes. And people are so unrepentantly mean to one another on social media that it's not realistic. Like, you would never walk up to somebody and say, hey, you look like you fought off a coat hanger in the womb for 9 months and barely made it. Nobody's going to say that to you, you know? And so right then and there, if it upsets people, I only suggest this. It's not real. No one's really saying this to you. You're going to shut your machine off. You're going to shut your phone off, your computer, whatever, and you're going to go take a shit without them talking to you. And so I don't mind social media at all. Launching a band in this day and age is difficult because there's so many of them. And really how am I going to get people interested in wanting to hear our music, you know? And then, I mean, talking to our social media guys and people that handle certain things within our band, like they'll say, oh, the algorithm. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Is that the one that tells me which kind of porno I'm supposed to watch? I don't know which one. So it's tricky, but also, for me and for the rest of the guys, I think it's not really about us getting popular and being part of the cool kids and getting on Twitch and TikTok. And, you know, I think that there's too much try hard going on.
Actually, I just thought about it. You guys would be a hit on like TikTok, right? With all the funny stuff. I
would do it if they weren't trying to track me.
Yeah. It's creepy as fuck. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. So my wife, she showed me a lot of TikTok videos, and I'm like, the fuck is wrong with people? And can I use that in a song? That's usually my next. But yeah, it's tough, you know, to answer your question. Like it's just sort of the nature of the beast now, and you know, you always hope that you can kind of find your way to weasel into people's heads and onto all the different streaming platforms and stuff, because despite it being very open, it's also extraordinarily controlled. Mm-hmm. And like we put out our first single was Hate Fuck Face, and we were immediately censored. And one of our people at the label said, yeah, it's getting censored across all these different platforms. And I'm like, okay, which is weird to me that it's being censored, but on TV they show zombies exploding and shit like that, and people saying fuck, and so I'm like, and we have little asterisks on fucked, so I'm like, it's kind of censored, but yeah, I don't know, but then that's the kind of shit you deal with is this proclivity towards control, which is bizarre, especially in a genre where people come up to you and tell you what all these rules for heavy metal are. Like we talked about song structure earlier. And here's the rule on how you write a metal song. Here's the rule. This is the way you need to sound. This is how it should sound. And it's like, or we'll just do us and you can appreciate us for having our own fingerprint. And that to me is more important than anything. So, because people say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Well, I should just be myself. That's what I should be. And you should be you. And that's what makes us unique. And then we can come together over something we love, which is heavy metal.
When I think about it, the reason why you got into metal is because you wanted to share your opinion. Like you want to channel that anger, you want to channel everything. And it's also about individualism, right?
It is.
The very fact that you have to conform to a certain thing and fit into a certain sound just is a bit bizarre for me.
You can listen to a piece of music now, and it's so contrived with the I've heard it called Jekyll and Hyde vocals, but it's like, here comes the dirty vocals, here comes the clean vocals, right? It drives me crazy how nobody does anything with that. They just copy the last band that did it. And I remember the first band I heard do that. That was actually a band called Celtic Frost, and it was the 80s that did the Jekyll and Hyde vocals. And the second band I heard do it was Fear Factory. And I heard that in like 1992. So I'm dating myself here. And I remember thinking, that's really cool. I wonder what people are going to do with this. And now, unfortunately, they haven't done enough with it. I feel like they've done like, all right, here comes a singing. And then you go, okay, I didn't see that shit coming. And then the other part is that the dirty vocals, the fry vocals are all so similar that I could go through Apple Music or Spotify or whatever you're listening to and click to the next band you've not heard of, and you won't know the difference from one to the next.
Yep.
So it's super conformist, and it's like, what's going to get me clicks? What's going to get me popular with this group of people? And to me, that's very not metal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say Sumericon, Sumerian Records.
Yeah.
They just basically made a career of bands that exactly sound the same, right?
Yeah, which I don't know that label, but it's too bad, because I think people go, how come people want to go still see this band, or they want to see this band, and they're from 1975 or 1982? I'm like, because they sound like them, which to me is just the most important thing. So that's really the goal with Fetal Blood Eagle, to be honest with you, to circle back to us. We really just want to be us. And what we do is we write really heavy shit and we make fucking jokes. And to me, the international community has been so great about it. And I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought American people would have thought it was the funniest thing ever. And the international community would be like, I don't get the jokes. It's been the opposite. But most of the American audiences are pretty great too, as far as getting the humor. But
I think that's the thing about the internet, right? I mean, think about it. You're sitting halfway talking to two guys from halfway around the world, cracking the same kind of jokes that we get, right? And it's only because of just the internet and how small the world is, as cliche as I want to be.
Right. And I think that when I was growing up and I discovered heavy metal for the first time, I found something that reminded me of me. I thought, these guys are like me. They're pissed off. They're, they don't want to sound like New Kids on the Block. Now I'm really dating myself. They don't want to sound like pop music. These guys don't want to subscribe to America's Got Talent and watch some asshole sound like the next asshole who sounds like the next asshole. And what really drives me crazy about all that is they say, oh, looks don't matter and you don't want to body shame. Blah, 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 blah. And then they completely disown that fucking sentiment the minute they put somebody in the front of their band wearing only their panties and a bra and all duded up like some street hooker. And and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, that's metal. I'm like, that's not metal. That's not metal at all. You're just selling everybody else. You're just doing everything everyone else does. And I think it's very contradictory, and not to sound too preachy, but yeah, I think ultimately in this world you should be you, and people should accept you for who that is. And that's metal.
Yep, and that is a lovely metal message to end this chat on, for the moment at least. Jim, excellent chat. I like full positive vibes, and let's do this another time, because I think we need to have a chat just about metal, not just Fetal Blood Eagle, if you're up for that at some point.
Absolutely, anytime you want, and I'm here. I'll talk to you guys anytime. It's a pleasure.
None of us are going anywhere this year, right?
Well, I hope you guys are.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
That's all the time that we have. Go out and check this album out, and then come back and listen to this podcast to try and see where else you can spot those lovely little interludes and those lovely little samples for. And then we'll get Jim back on the podcast and talk about those samples even more, etc., etc. And when you've done that, you can let us know. How do you find us? Well, we are at hornsupod.com or on Twitter at hornsupod. Yup, I told you that we hate social media, but here I am plugging our social media itself. Oh my. I'm on Twitter at Asmoani.
I'm at Trend Crusher.
And this was Horns Up.
Horns Up, guys.